Good evening, fellow classmates. This evening on this discussion board, I'm talking about the 10th Amendment. Usually courses in American government are reserved for seniors in high school, at least historically, and it was usually split in a two-semester cohort with economics. And things have changed over the years. I taught American government for 2 years to ninth and 10th graders. It was called civics at the time. Now they call it political systems. And the difficulty in teaching this and in teaching in general is making things make sense and making them practical with real world applications to students. Students want to know, when am I going to use this and why should I care? The 10th Amendment is short, and it states that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited to it by the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Many call this amendment the States' Rights Amendment. However, it's not about states' rights as it is about powers that are vested in the state. And this means that any power not left that's not listed specifically or specifically granted in the United States Constitution, or so says the 10th Amendment, is left to the states or to the people. The United States Constitution is a broad framework for all the other states to follow. For an example, the state of Georgia can't declare war on another country, but the United States Constitution gives the federal government the authority to do so. But suppose you want to get married. The United States Constitution has no law about marriage in it, so it's left up to the states to decide marriage laws. So the 10th Amendment doesn't specify what these powers of the state may be, but the Supreme Court has ruled that laws affecting family relations such as marriage, divorce, and adoption, and business that occurs within between state lines, local law enforcement activities, those things are laws that are specifically reserved to the state or to the people. The 10th Amendment was included in the Bill of Rights to further define the balance of power between the federal government and the states, or federalism. And this is important because it ensures that every state would keep their freedom, their independence, their jurisdiction rights, and their sovereignty. However, because the federal government has enumerated powers, meaning that powers that are listed explicitly in the Constitution, such as taxing or to declare war, it also has implied powers, which are powers not listed by the Constitution itself, but necessary and proper to execute those powers. For example, taxing is explicitly named. How am I going to tax? I will tax through income tax. I will take a little bit of your money out of your check. Okay, even though it's not in the Constitution, but that's how I enforce the taxing power. The federal government can declare war, but how am I going to get soldiers? I can declare a draft. The draft is not in the Constitution, but it is implied because the government needs to raise an army. So this makes the state's powers more confusing because it seems that the federal government can make up rules as it goes along. Sometimes local or state governments may try to say that they don't have to follow a federal law because of the 10th Amendment. In the Supreme Court's been very few cases that use the 10th Amendment to call a law unconstitutional. Say, for example, 1987 South Dakota versus Dole, where there was a federal law that would withhold 5% of highway funds from states that didn't raise the minimum drinking age to 21. That was ruled constitutional because it was for the general good. And then there was another example in 1995, United States versus Lopez, where the government said that it did not have the authority to create a gun-free school zone under the Commerce Clause. And those are just a few, example of some cases where the 10th Amendment was used. In other words, in both cases, it was always used as a part of the Commerce Clause, when it came to money, because the federal government does have the power to tax. So initially with the law in 1987, they said it was for the general good, so it was constitutional. And for the one in 1995, when it came to a gun-free zone, the court said this has nothing to do with commerce at all. It's an overreach. And that's just a short preview of the 10th Amendment.